Hey guys, this is Joseph Lucero with Powerlifting Technique, and today what we're going to talk about are top abductor exercises that are going to strengthen your anatomy today. So with the abductors, there's actually two muscle groups that we need to really break down in this video. Obviously, we're going to focus on the abductors of the body, but if we talk about the abductors, so ABD, we're going to also talk about the adductors as well, because with all muscle groups, there's opposing forces that will balance them out, and I think it's fair that to really understand the topic, we got to mention both inside this video. But by the end of the video, not will you only understand what the abductors and adductors are, but you also understand why they're important, why people want to focus on these movements, these exercises, these muscle groups, and how they can help all types of strength athletes, whether you're a powerlifter or just a traditional athlete. So I keep saying abductors, but what am I really talking about? To make this more simple, I'm talking about the glute muscles. So we're very familiar with the glute max, okay? The glute maximus or the gluteus maximus is the muscle that helps your hip joint extend, okay, into an upright position. So whether it's squats, deadlifts, or anything that's going to extend the hip joint to lockout, we're going to use the glute max. But in addition to the glute maximus, we're also going to talk about the medius and the minimus. And their job isn't necessarily to extend the hips, but it's to support lateral movement that moves away from the midline, which happens to be defined as the abductors. When you take resistance and we go into a different plane of movement, okay, so the glute maximus helps us go forwards and backwards, which is for the sagittal plane. But in the frontal plane or transverse plane, when our legs, okay, let's talk about the femur, especially the bone that goes from our hip joint to our knee. When the femur either opens up like this, so in the transverse plane, so when it opens up in this direction, that's the glute medius and minimus. All right. Now, in addition to the transverse plane where it goes rotational, we also have abduction that goes away from the midline, and that is going to be the abductors as well, the medius and minimus, but from the frontal plane. So I'm going to show you some exercises in this video that'll explain this just a little bit more. But anytime you're moving away from the midline, whether it's the transverse plane or the frontal plane, we're going to be talking about abduction away. Now, going towards the midline in this fashion, in the transverse and frontal plane, that's the adductors, okay? And you have 3 adductor muscles. You probably have more, actually, so I kind of take back that comment. But from how I understand the muscle groups, it's the adductor brevis, longus, magnus. As long as I'm keeping my terminology correct, those are the muscles that help bring your femur into the midline of the body. But like we mentioned before, this is a video about the abductors, the muscles that take you away from the midline, and that's going to be the glute medius and minimus. So there's a long list of exercises that can be abductor based. There's like 15, 20 exercises, and if you include the variations of those, it's probably even a longer list of exercises. But some of the more common abductor exercises are going to be the standing leg lift, lateral leg lift. We're going to have the clamshell. We're also going to have the abduction machine, a monster walk where you take your body, move lateral side to side. There's so many exercises that can really recruit the glute medius and minimus, aka the abductors, the lower body of the hip joint. There's so many exercises that we can use to help with this. I mean, the list can go on, but the goal of this video is to define the abductors and to sample some exercises that you can use, whether it's from the home gym or from the actual commercial gym. There's some exercises that we can provide you that are going to make you a stronger athlete, even if you're a powerlifter, a strongman, or just a non-traditional athlete. So why do we want to train these abductors? Well, if we break down movement, earlier we talked about the squat and the deadlift, right? So the hips are going to go backwards and forwards with the squat and the deadlift. 2 of the 3 main movements you'd see in powerlifting. And the reason why I bring up powerlifting is because we're on powerliftingtechnique.com. So why not talk about powerlifting? When we think about powerlifting, a lot of movements are going to happen in the sagittal plane, forwards and backwards. Now the transverse plane will occur with the bench press as well. But for the most part, our abductors might not necessarily be recruited tremendously when we squat or deadlift. But when you see those athletes, and I'm going to step back a little bit, you can see these athletes and their knees cave inward. That is also an issue between the abductors and the adductors. When the knees cave inward, which is knee valgus, we need to find a way to push those knees outward. And remember, I told you all about this. When your femur opens up, that's going to be the abductor muscles, the glute medius and minimus. And we should probably end up training those just to make sure that our joints within certain movements like squatting and deadlifting can maintain position and not lose position. Because just think about it. If your knees cave inward when you squat, you're in a very weakened position and you cannot leverage your hips correctly. So it's very important you understand how to recruit those muscles and what exercises can be used for those. So that's another reason why this video is existing, is because we want to really fix those problems and work on them. So what are some exercises that you can do from home to help with your abductor activation and strengthening? Right here, as you can see, I'm using a bench and I am doing an exercise called the fire hydrant. And what I'm doing in this video right here is I'm allowing my knee joint, so I'm keeping my body stable. I'm allowing my knee joint to come above the bench and then below the bench. So I'm circling, that femur is doing like a circular motion. And what that's doing right there is that is activating the abductors to open up. And then now in the next part of the video, as you can see, after you do some fire hydrants, which work on kind of like the mobility and the ability of the hip joint, you can allow your thighs to rest on the bench and then lift them up. Rest on the bench and lift them up. So that is kind of like, in a way, just a kneeling abductor opening type of exercise that can help you increase the recruitment and activation of those abductors. In addition to this, we kind of talked about it before, opposing forces need to equal each other. I believe Newton said that before. And not only should you be recruiting your abductors, but you should be also recruiting your adductors. So when I train athletes, as you can see in this video, I am the athlete. I did the fire hydrants. I did the opening, that abductor raise off the bench. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my thigh and squeeze down on the bench. It's an isometric type of contraction. That squeezing is going to work my adductor muscles, the ones that close my thighs together. And the reason why I do that is because I've found as a coach, as much as I'm opening the hips, I want to close the hips as well. Because if I can strengthen both ends of the movements, then I can control my positioning when I do lifting, such as squatting and deadlifting, and I can try to eliminate that knee valgus problem. And if you think about the video I just showed you, I did all of that with the bench and body weight. So I can easily do that at home. I can use a chair, an ottoman, maybe you have a home gym so you can use the bench as well. But what are some things you can do, not just at home, but at the gym as well, to increase your abductor strength? So right here in this next video, what I'm going to show you guys is a side plank with a leg raise. And with the side plank, that's working my abdominal muscles, my obliques as well. And when I open my legs, that's what's recruiting my glute medius and minimus, the abductors, a bunch. And what's great about this video is that when I open and my legs are in the position they are, they're not in a bent knee position. Remember earlier, the fire hydrants and the abductor and adductor exercises, those were all from a bent knee position. So that means if I bend the knee, I've created more levers and I've made the movement a little bit easier. Think about it like this. If I raise my elbows this way with dumbbells, that's a lot easier than if I raise my arms with my elbows straight. With the side plank and leg raise, because my legs are longer and it's one long lever from my hip to my ankle joint, that makes the movement so much harder, and that'll make the medius and minimus work tremendously in addition to my core muscles. So that's a great exercise to do from home, but at the gym as well. Another exercise you can do is from a bent knee position is the clamshell. And you can see in this video right here, I'm doing it with body weight, so I know it kind of sounds easier. But if I had the band anchored around my knee joint in this video, you would notice that because of that, that recruits a ton more strength and makes it that much more rigorous of an exercise to do. And I would definitely advocate for people to do a straight leg raise, but also a bent knee raise, because a lot of times when we're in the most struggling position, even in powerlifting or traditional strength movements, that's when our knee is already bent. So we might as well replicate that situation as well. As you can see in this video so far, we talked about a good few amount of movements that you can do from the home and from the gym that are going to help you increase your abductor strength and your adductor strength as well. So, with that being said, would a powerlifter want to use this? Yes. Would a traditional strength athlete want to use this? Yes. More times than not, I would say, because a strength athlete is more focused on compounds, maybe this would be like a warm-up routine that someone would do. So if that was the case, I would recommend 10 fire hydrants, 10 abduction raises from the bench, a 10-second squeeze, and then I can do a side plank with leg raises for 10 reps each side, and then afterwards I could do body weight clamshells for 10 reps each side. And I think doing those 5 movements that I just showed you in those videos in like a warm-up routine where you do it one set of everything for 10 or 10 seconds, minutes. That would be a great routine to do before your strength training exercise so that you feel warmed up and more capable when you do your workouts. And it'd be a really great tool for powerlifters or just traditional athletes, or maybe non-traditional athletes who need to recruit those muscles to have better positioning for their strength training. Again, my name is Joseph Lucero with Powerlifting Technique. I hope you enjoyed the video. In fact, if you have more exercises you want to promote to us or tell us about, please feel free to leave a comment below, ask questions. Sometimes your questions become the next video, and like the channel, subscribe, and hopefully we'll catch you next time.